Marcus Aurelius did not rule Rome from a throne of peace. His empire was torn by war, devastated by plague, shaken by betrayal and corruption. And yet, when we open the pages of Meditations, we don't see the ravings of a man consumed by anger or paralyzed by fear. We see something else entirely. We see a mind that observes, considers, chooses. A man who, in the midst of chaos, chose not to react, but to respond. Now think about that for a moment. In the heart of an empire, during one of the most unstable periods in its history, the most powerful man in the world taught himself not to be a slave to emotion. He trained his mind to remain still when the world wasn't. He could have responded with violence, with tyranny, with despair. Instead, he chose virtue, reason, restraint. Why? Because he understood something few people ever master, that power over the world is nothing compared to power over the self. Today, most of us are not emperors. We do not face barbarian invasions or manage the fate of entire nations. But what we do face is no less real: toxic relationships, anxiety, loss, betrayal, pressure, failure. We are constantly bombarded by emails, headlines, criticism, judgments, and fear. Our nervous systems are flooded. Our patience is tested daily. We want to scream, we want to fight, we want to collapse. And so, we react. We lash out in anger when someone disrespects us. We spiral in anxiety when things don't go our way. We panic in the face of the unknown. We make impulsive decisions. We say things we regret. We drown in our own chaos. And it is precisely in those moments that Stoic philosophy becomes not just useful, but vital. Because the Stoics understood that the difference between a good life and a miserable one often comes down to this: do you react or do you respond? In this episode of Diary Stoic, we are going to explore 10 powerful, practical, and ancient Stoic teachings that will train your mind to respond rather than react. These are not abstract theories. These are battle-tested ideas born from centuries of hardship, reflection, and wisdom. Whether you're dealing with criticism, heartbreak, pressure at work, or just the daily grind of life, these teachings will help you pause, see clearly, and choose wisely. Because when you stop reacting, you start living on your own terms. You become the author of your emotions, not their puppet. You take back control, not over the world, but over yourself. And that is where true strength begins. Stay with me until the end, because lesson number 10 is the most powerful of all. It is the one idea that, if deeply understood, can change not just how you react, but how you live. It is the cornerstone of Stoic resilience, and few ever truly master it. Now, before we begin, I want to invite you to make a simple declaration, not to me, not to anyone else, but to yourself. In the comments, write this phrase: I choose discipline over drama. Say it, type it, reflect on it. Let it be your first act of resistance against a reactive mind. Let it be the flag you raise on the battlefield of your emotions. Because once you choose discipline, you start to choose your path consciously. You start to break the cycle of blind reaction. You start to live like a Stoic. So why do we react in the first place? Why is it so hard to pause, to reflect, to respond with wisdom instead of impulse? It's because reacting is easy, it's instinctual, it's emotional. It doesn't require discipline, it only requires a trigger. And life is full of them. Someone insults you, react with anger. Something goes wrong, react with panic. Someone leaves you, react with despair. Reacting feels like strength in the moment, but it's weakness in disguise. It's the mind surrendering to emotion. Responding, on the other hand, is deliberate. It requires awareness. It demands that we notice the emotion, but not obey it. It means stepping back before we step forward. It means thinking before speaking, observing before acting, understanding before judging. Responding takes strength, discipline, and courage. And that is exactly what the Stoics trained for every day, not to feel nothing, but to be ruled by nothing. Epictetus, who was born a slave and lived through brutal conditions, taught that the only thing we truly control is our response. Not the events, not the people, not the outcomes, but how we interpret them, how we think about them, and how we act in their presence. He introduced the concept of prohairesis, the faculty of choice. This was the Stoic superpower, the ability to choose your attitude, your perception, your reaction in any situation. He said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Notice he didn't say how you feel about it. Feelings arise, but how you react. That is where your freedom lives. Seneca, a man who faced exile, political enemies, and personal loss, echoed the same truth. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. That because our reactions are often exaggerated stories we tell ourselves about what just happened. Stories that spiral out of control. But when you train yourself to respond, you begin to question the story. You look at the facts. You ask, what is within my control? What virtue can I practice here? What does reason demand? And Marcus Aurelius, writing to himself in the dead of night, surrounded by war, reminded his own heart again and again, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. He trained his mind not to react to every report from the front lines, not to every betrayal in the Senate, not to every ache in his body, but to respond with clarity, with calm, with character. This is the path we must walk if we are to master ourselves. It is not easy. It takes time. It takes failure. It takes getting triggered and falling back into reaction, but then noticing it, catching it, learning, responding better next time. That is the Stoic path, and that is why we are here. Over the next lessons, I will guide you through 10 Stoic teachings that you can begin to practice today. These lessons will give you tools, mental habits, anchors in the storm. They will show you how to slow down your reactions, how to recognize your triggers, how to use reason in moments of intensity, how to speak with intention rather than impulse, how to choose silence when silence is power, how to frame adversity as opportunity, and how to align your actions with your deepest values, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. Because responding is not about being passive, it is about being principled. It is not about being emotionless, it is about emotional mastery. The Stoics never denied their pain, they transformed it. So if you've ever regretted something you said in anger, if you've ever made a decision out of fear, if you've ever reacted to life and felt like it dragged you around like a puppet on strings, this video is for you. This philosophy is for you. This practice is for you. It is not ancient, it is eternal. It is not complicated, but it is hard, and it is worth it. Because when you stop reacting and start responding, you begin to own your life. You stop being at the mercy of others. You stop being ruled by emotion. You start building unshakable peace, not because life is easy, but because you are ready. So again, before we begin with the 10 teachings, type it, own it, declare it, I choose discipline over drama. That phrase is your first response, not a reaction, a response. Let's train the mind together. Let's walk with Marcus, Epictetus, and Seneca. Let's learn how to respond. Lesson 10. Detach from outcome. Anchor in virtue. The most essential Stoic teaching, the one that holds the entire structure of mental discipline together, is the ability to detach from outcomes and anchor your identity in virtue. Without this understanding, all other practices lose their grounding. You can meditate, reflect, journal, breathe, and repeat quotes from Marcus Aurelius. But if you continue to link your inner peace to results outside your control, you will always live at the mercy of fortune. You will always be vulnerable to panic, anger, disappointment, or arrogance. And that is not stoicism, that is enslavement to chance. The Stoics were clear. We are not in this life to chase outcomes. We are here to choose the right action for its own sake, regardless of how the world responds. Virtue is the reward. That must be enough. If it is not, we remain trapped in reactivity. This might seem counterintuitive in a modern world that constantly tells you that your worth depends on what you achieve, how much you earn, how many people admire you, or how perfectly you execute your plans. But the Stoics would say, none of that belongs to you. The applause of others is not yours. The final result of your actions does not belong to you. Even your body, your health, your reputation, they are temporary and external. What is truly yours and always will be is your faculty of reason, your choices, your character. That is your domain. That is where freedom lives, and that is where your attention must return, again and again, every time you feel shaken by success or failure. This is the heart of Stoicism, not the denial of feeling, but the refusal to be ruled by what lies beyond your will. To live this way requires a radical shift in perspective. Most people are conditioned to measure their lives by outcomes. They say, did I win? Did I get the result I wanted? Did I succeed? And their emotions rise or fall based on that answer. But the Stoic asks a different question. Did I act with virtue? Did I respond with wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control? If the answer is yes, then nothing else matters. You might have lost, but you did not fail. You might have been rejected, but you did not betray your principles. You might have been misunderstood, but you did not lower your standards. And that is what counts, because character, not circumstance, is the true measure of a life. Epictetus, born into slavery, subjected to pain and loss, insisted that everything external must be treated with detachment. He taught that our suffering often comes not from the event itself, but from our desire for it to go a certain way. When we become attached to how things should turn out, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But when we release that need, when we act with clarity and let go of the outcome, we become invincible. No one can take away your intention. No one can steal your integrity, and no result can diminish your dignity. This is not indifference, it is control. It is not apathy, it is precision. It is the discipline to give everything your full effort and accept whatever comes without losing your center. Seneca wrote that fortune has no true power over the wise. Why? Because the wise person does not build their joy on fortune's foundation. They build it on virtue. He described how often people who seem successful are secretly miserable because they are enslaved by their own desires. They win a prize, and now they must protect it. They gain admiration, and now they fear losing it. They reach a goal, and now they must chase the next. But the Stoic detaches. The Stoic lives in the present, not the outcome. The Stoic is satisfied with doing the right thing, even if no one sees it, even if no one rewards it, even if the world answers with silence. Because the reward is internal. It is peace, it is clarity, it is self-respect. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by war, politics, and betrayal, returned to this principle again and again. In his journals, he reminded himself not to expect things to go according to plan, not to demand results from the world, not to confuse effort with entitlement. You have power over your mind, he wrote, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And elsewhere, do not waste time thinking about what a good person should be. Be one. Notice how direct that is. He didn't say, be successful. He didn't say, be impressive. He said, be good. And that is enough. The moment you act with integrity, the game is won, even if the scoreboard says otherwise. But let's be honest, this kind of detachment takes courage. It requires that you surrender the illusion of control. It forces you to trust that doing what is right, even when it hurts, is better than chasing comfort at the cost of your soul. And most people are not ready for that. They want guarantees. They want applause. They want life to reward them quickly. But the Stoic knows that virtue is its own reward. The Stoic doesn't need applause to feel whole. The Stoic doesn't need to win to feel strong. The Stoic only needs to know, I acted according to principle. I did not betray my values. I chose discipline over impulse. And that, in the eyes of reason, is victory. Think about this in your own life. The times you reacted impulsively, was it because you were focused on the result? Were you trying to force something to go your way? Were you afraid of what might happen if it didn't? That's where reactivity begins, in the mind's refusal to accept uncertainty, in its hunger for control. But when you shift your focus from what will happen to what is the right thing to do, you enter the Stoic state. You begin to respond. You stop demanding and start deciding. You stop craving and start acting. And ironically, this is what often leads to better outcomes. Not because you forced them, but because you brought your best self to the moment. So the next time you find yourself anxious about the future, panicking over a decision, afraid of failure, or attached to recognition, pause. Take a breath and ask, am I focused on what I control, or am I clinging to what I don't? Then bring your attention back to the present, back to your values, back to your reason, and move forward from there. That is the Stoic way. Let this truth settle deep into your thinking. The world will do what it does. People will come and go. Success will rise and fall. Plans will work or break. But your ability to choose virtue, that is forever yours. That is the one thing no one can take. So anchor in it, build your peace on it, and no storm will move you. You will not always win, but you can always respond with strength. Lesson 9. Reframe your perception before it controls you. Every person walks through life surrounded not by reality itself, but by their perception of reality. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. They saw that the mind does not simply receive the world, it interprets it, colors it, exaggerates it, fears it. The raw event means nothing until your mind assigns it meaning. And once that meaning is assigned, it begins to rule you. That's why some people collapse under pressure while others rise. Why some feel insulted by silence while others feel empowered. It's not the situation, it's the story. And unless you learn to master that story, it will master you. This is why Stoic training begins in perception, not to avoid reality, but to see it clearly, to strip away illusion, to take control of the lens through which you see so that you can respond instead of react. Epictetus said, "What upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things." This sentence is not just a piece of philosophy, it's a weapon. It reminds you that pain is not just pain, it is interpretation, that offense is not automatic, it is granted, that fear is not proof, it is projection. The Stoic learns to pause before judgment, to slow down the reflexive thought and ask, what am I telling myself about this moment? Is it true? Is it useful? Is it helping me live with virtue? This process of reframing, of deliberately altering your interpretation, is not denial. It is clarity. It is choosing reason over narrative. It is the habit of separating fact from opinion, event from drama, circumstance from suffering. Imagine a person who is criticized in public. Their first instinct might be humiliation or anger. The story rushes in. They disrespected me. They made me look weak. I need to fight back. And now they are reacting. They are prisoners of a perception they never questioned. But what would the Stoic do? They would pause, observe the judgment forming, and then calmly ask, is what they said true? If yes, then I have something to learn. If no, then why be upset? Their words change nothing about who I am unless I allow it. And just like that, the emotional fire dies. The situation is transformed, not because the world changed, but because the lens changed. That is the essence of Stoic power. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He constantly reminded himself to observe his impressions, those first emotional reactions that can lead to ruin if not checked. He would repeat, "Is this in my control? Or what virtue does this moment call for? Or what if I saw this as an opportunity instead of a threat?" These are not just rhetorical questions. They are interventions, tools to break the automatic chain of reaction and open space for reason, space to breathe, to choose, to respond. Reframing is not about being positive. It is about being free, free from the tyranny of every thought that enters your mind, free from the chaos of false assumptions, free from the need to dramatize what simply is. Because most suffering is not physical, it is mental. It is the noise you add to the situation, the accusation, the expectation, the demand. The Stoic removes that noise, not to numb themselves, but to hear more clearly, to act more cleanly, to see what is and not what fear says it is. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. He wrote that anxiety is the pain we invent in advance. The Stoic sees this and takes action. They do not trust the first thought. They investigate it. They hold it to the light of reason. And when it proves false or exaggerated, they release it. They replace it with a judgment aligned with truth and virtue. This does not mean they become emotionless. It means they become emotionally wise, able to feel without drowning, able to grieve without being shattered, able to be insulted without being small, able to act without being baited. So ask yourself, when you feel triggered, anxious, offended, or overwhelmed, what am I telling myself about this? Am I seeing the facts or just the fears? Am I interpreting this like a child or a philosopher? Is this thought helping me respond with wisdom or react with impulse? And if the answer reveals a lie, reframe it, replace it, not with wishful thinking, but with rational thinking, with a perspective grounded in reality, humility, and virtue. To master perception is to begin mastering the self, because once you can choose how to see, you begin to choose how to live. You begin to own your reactions. You begin to find calm in chaos. Not because life is gentle, but because your mind is trained. The Stoic doesn't wait for peace to come. They create it with how they interpret the storm. Lesson 8, welcome discomfort as a path to strength. Every culture in history has warned against too much comfort, but few have gone as far as the Stoics in embracing discomfort, not just as a reality of life, but as a teacher, a necessity, a sacred tool for building strength. The modern world does not think this way. Today we are trained to avoid pain, to escape boredom, to silence every inconvenience with distraction or indulgence. But the Stoic knows that what we avoid controls us. What we fear weakens us. And the more we run from discomfort, the less capable we become of facing life as it truly is. So the Stoic does the opposite. They lean into what is difficult. They choose hardship voluntarily. They wake up and say, "Today I will not hope for ease. I will train for resilience. I will not react to discomfort. I will welcome it." Epictetus, who lived with physical disability and slavery, made it clear, freedom is not found in changing our external conditions. It is found in changing our relationship to pain. He said, difficulties are things that show a person what they are. That means the obstacle is not your enemy, it is your mirror. It shows you your fears, your limits, your ego. And if you avoid it, you remain weak. But if you face it, if you accept it, if you train through it, you grow. You gain courage. You gain clarity. You stop being controlled by comfort and start being guided by purpose. The Stoic does not wait for pain to come, he prepares for it. He fasts, not because he must, but because he wants to remember that he can. He sleeps on the floor not out of punishment, but out of practice. He exposes himself to discomfort not to suffer, but to build the muscle of self-command. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, deliberately practiced poverty. He would wear rough clothes, eat coarse bread, drink water, and sleep without luxury. And he would ask himself, "Is this what I feared?" What he discovered, and what the Stoics teach us, is that the anticipation of discomfort is worse than the thing itself. When we train our mind and body to live with less, to endure cold, to bear hunger, to resist impulse, we stop fearing what we once thought unbearable. We become anti-fragile. And from that place of strength, we no longer react with panic when life strips us of comfort. We respond with calm, because we have trained in the arena of hardship. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that the body can handle much more than the mind believes, that what feels unbearable is often just unfamiliar. He didn't wish for suffering, but when it came, he received it as a teacher. He wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. If it is not, then stop complaining." There is no self-pity in that, only dignity, only the power that comes from choosing your stance. Discomfort cannot be avoided in life, but it can be used, and the Stoic uses it to sharpen the mind, strengthen the will, clarify priorities. When everything is easy, nothing grows. When everything is soft, the soul becomes fragile. But when we stretch, strain, and suffer with purpose, we evolve. This does not mean chasing pain for its own sake. It means not fearing pain. It means seeing in every difficulty a seed of transformation. It means replacing the question, "How can I avoid this?" with, "How can I grow through this?" Because the reality is, life will test you. It will hurt you. It will strip you of illusions, comforts, and plans. If you are untrained, you will react with bitterness, weakness, or retreat. But if you are trained, if you have welcomed discomfort in times of peace, you will respond with strength, discipline, and acceptance. That is what Stoic resilience means. So if you want to train your mind to respond, not react, begin with your relationship to discomfort. Sit in silence when your phone calls for distraction. Say no when your body begs for indulgence. Delay gratification. Embrace cold. Face fear. Do what is difficult, not because it is fun, but because it is how you remember your strength. Every moment of discomfort is a doorway to mastery. Walk through it willingly, and you will find a part of yourself the world cannot shake. Lesson 7. Let words pass. Silence is strength. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become a revolutionary act. We live surrounded by noise, argument, opinion, and provocation. Social media rewards the loudest voice, not the wisest. Conversations escalate quickly into debates and debates into conflict. We are constantly pressured to speak, to defend ourselves, to prove something, to clap back. But the Stoic sees all of this noise and chooses restraint. The Stoic knows that not every attack deserves a response, not every insult needs defense, and not every opinion requires agreement. In the philosophy of Epictetus, you are not harmed by what is said. You are harmed when you believe you must respond. This is where most people fail. They react to every comment, every tone, every slight, and in doing so they give away their peace. The Stoic does not. The Stoic lets the words pass because silence is not weakness, it is strength. Imagine someone insults you directly, mocks your values, questions your intelligence. The natural instinct is to react, to retaliate, to restore your pride. But that reaction is often not strength, it is insecurity in disguise. The wise person understands that their character is not determined by someone else's mouth. What others say is outside your control. How you respond, that is your domain. If their words are true, let them serve as correction. If they are false, why dignify them with energy? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is not to be like your enemy. That means do not imitate anger, do not mirror ignorance, do not descend into the mud just because someone tried to pull you there. Let them talk, let them mock. You remain quiet, not out of fear, but out of mastery. This practice of silence is not just defensive, it is a strategy for clarity. Seneca taught that most of our regrets come not from what we endured, but from what we said in reaction. Words spoken in haste often become chains we wear long after the moment has passed. But when you pause, when you hold your tongue, you gain time. Time to think, time to see clearly, time to choose. And in that space, you reclaim your freedom. You are no longer a slave to insult or provocation. You become your own ruler. This is not about suppressing your voice forever. It is about using your voice with precision, not impulse, about learning when to speak and when to be still, about not being drawn into every battle that ego presents. There is a deep dignity in silence. It says, I know who I am. I do not need to prove it to you. It creates space for others to reveal themselves. It disarms the angry, confuses the manipulative, and elevates the one who holds it. In ancient Rome, silence was a form of philosophical armor. It protected the inner life from being spilled out into the noise of the world. It preserved focus, and with it, peace. The modern person, caught in endless reaction, rarely knows this peace. But the Stoic seeks it, and they find it by asking, in every confrontation, is this worthy of my energy? Will my words improve this or inflame it? Can I walk away without saying anything and still keep my dignity? To respond instead of react is, at its core, to remain anchored in silence long enough to let wisdom speak instead of emotion. Sometimes silence is the response. Sometimes it is the most powerful statement you can make. And so, when the world provokes you, remember, you are not obligated to respond to noise. You are not required to defend yourself against every criticism. You are free to let it pass, like a storm you observe without stepping into. And when you do this, you will see that silence is not empty. It is full of power. Lesson 6. Prepare the mind daily. Adversity is a certainty. There is a dangerous illusion that ruins many lives, the belief that tomorrow will go as planned, that people will treat you fairly, that your efforts will be rewarded, that comfort will continue uninterrupted. It is an illusion born of convenience, a luxury granted by routines and systems that mostly work. But deep down, life is not predictable. Life is not safe. It never has been. The Stoics knew this. They lived in times of plague, exile, betrayal, sudden death, and brutal change. And they did not pray for things to stay easy. They trained their minds for the certainty of adversity. They woke up each morning not to be surprised by difficulty, but to expect it, to greet it like an old companion, to say, today I will encounter resistance, and I am ready. This mindset was not pessimism, it was power. Seneca called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. He advised that before leaving your bed, you should imagine all the ways the day could go wrong, not to fear them, but to become familiar with them, to disarm their surprise, to remember that insult, failure, illness, loss, these are not interruptions of life, they are part of it. And if you do not prepare your mind to meet them, you will react with shock, panic, or rage. But if you train yourself, you will respond. You will move through adversity not with despair, but with discipline, with grace, with strength. Marcus Aurelius practiced this every day. Before facing his court, his enemies, his responsibilities, he reminded himself, today I will meet with interference, ingratitude, insolence, disloyalty, ill will, and selfishness, all of them due to the offender's ignorance of what is good or evil. He didn't say it to become bitter, he said it to remain calm. He understood that people would be flawed, that plans would break, that life would not bow to his desires. And because he expected this, he wasn't destabilized by it. He could lead, decide, and endure with a clear mind. That is what it means to train your response in advance, not after the damage, but before it begins. This practice requires courage. It is easier to hope for comfort, to avoid thinking about loss, to believe that hardship is rare. But the Stoic refuses false hope. The Stoic prepares for truth, and by preparing, they become powerful. When everyone else panics at change, the Stoic breathes. When others complain at misfortune, the Stoic adapts. When others collapse under pressure, the Stoic endures. Not because they are heartless, but because they are ready. They rehearsed this moment. They lived it in the imagination before it arrived in reality. That mental training makes all the difference. You can begin this today. In the quiet of the morning, before the world makes demands, close your eyes and ask, what could go wrong today? What if I'm insulted? What if I fail? What if someone disappoints me? What if plans collapse? Can I still respond with virtue? Can I still act with dignity? Can I still remain grounded? Let those questions shape your posture. Let them remind you that the path is narrow and the challenges are real, and that you, like the Stoics, are capable of meeting them, not through fantasy, but through preparation, through the decision to stop being surprised by life's trials and start being strengthened by them. Lesson 5. Accept fate fully. Resistance is the real pain. There are moments in life when reality strikes like a hammer, a diagnosis you didn't expect, a loss you cannot reverse, a truth you cannot escape, and the mind recoils. It says, this shouldn't be happening. This isn't fair. I didn't ask for this. That's the moment where most people begin to suffer, not because of what happened, but because they refuse to accept that it did. The Stoics called this resistance the true source of agony, because life unfolds as it does, not as we wish. The sooner we understand this, the sooner we free ourselves from the chains of unnecessary suffering. The Stoic does not waste time cursing the river for flowing. He learns to move with it, to accept fate not with defeat, but with discipline, with a heart that says, I did not choose this, but I will choose how to face it. Epictetus taught that we should want events to happen as they do, not as we wish them to. This idea is called amor fati, the love of fate. It is not just about accepting what happens, but embracing it, using it, absorbing it into the fabric of your character. He wrote, seek not to have events happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. This is not weakness, it is ultimate strength. Anyone can resist what is painful. The Stoic accepts what is painful and turns it into purpose. Anyone can rage at misfortune. The Stoic looks it in the eye and says, you will not break me, you will build me. This is not about giving up or becoming passive. It is about clarity, about saying, what has happened is outside my power. What I do next, that is mine. Fate has delivered this moment. Now I will meet it with virtue. Seneca described how the wise man aligns his will with nature, flowing with its direction rather than fighting against it. He said, a good person dyes events with his own color and turns whatever happens to his own benefit. In other words, even misfortune becomes raw material for strength. Even pain becomes instruction. Even death becomes part of the grand order. The Stoic does not beg for a different life. He practices excellence within the one he has. Marcus Aurelius, facing betrayal, illness, war, and death, wrote calmly in his journal, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He was not being poetic. He was documenting his practice. He was showing us how to respond when life refuses to follow our plan. And he knew The faster you accept reality, the faster you gain control, not over the world, but over your response to it. That is all the power you need. Most people spend their energy wishing things were different. They dwell on what could have been. They argue with reality, but the Stoic sees this for what it is: wasted effort, energy that could have gone into adapting, learning, responding with wisdom. Acceptance is not resignation, it is redirection. It is facing forward instead of staring backward. It is stepping into the present moment fully, saying, "This is what is. Now let me meet it with strength." So when life deals you hardship, when it wounds your pride or breaks your heart, do not ask why it happened. Ask what it requires of you. Ask what virtue it demands. Ask how you can respond with clarity, courage, and character. That is how you make peace with fate, not by liking every event, but by refusing to be broken by any. Not by having control over what happens, but by mastering what you become because of it. Lesson 4. Control the impulse. Emotion is the first test. Before any action, there is a spark, a moment so fast, so subtle that most never see it. It is the flash of emotion, the surge of anger, the sting of fear, the burn of desire. And it is in that moment, not the action itself, that the first test of a Stoic is found. Because once you act on emotion without reflection, the damage is done. The words leave your mouth, the hands tremble, the decision is made, and often regret follows. The Stoic teaches that the moment to win the battle is not after the storm has passed, but in the instant it begins. It is in the ability to recognize the emotion rising and not obey it, to pause, to observe, to insert reason before reaction, because emotion is natural, but action is chosen. The untrained mind follows emotion, the disciplined mind commands it. Epictetus described this process as the mastery of impressions. An insult arises, it hits you like a wave, but before you assign it meaning, you must hold the impression at the door. Ask, what is this? Is it true? Is it useful? Is this within my control? That pause is the pivot point of freedom. Most people are dragged by their emotions like leaves in the wind. The Stoic stands still, not because they feel nothing, but because they do not surrender to the first sensation. They allow reason to speak first. They do not suppress the emotion, they direct it. They let anger become clarity, let fear become caution, let sorrow become depth. Emotion becomes an ally only when mastered. Left unchecked, it becomes a tyrant. Seneca warned that anger is like a falling rock. Once it starts, it gathers speed. That is why it must be stopped at the very beginning. He taught that it is easier to prevent a fire than to put one out. And so the Stoic disciplines the mind daily, training it to recognize the signs, the tightening chest, the racing heart, the flood of thought. They do not wait until they are shouting or shaking. They begin the battle within. They say, "This is the test, not what happened, but how I choose to meet it." And from that space, they choose silence over insult, patience over panic, stillness over spite. Not because it feels good, but because it is right. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself again and again, you have the power to not have an opinion. You can choose not to react. That sentence alone is a doorway to freedom. To not have an opinion immediately, to not need to express every feeling, to not be ruled by the first interpretation. This is not apathy, it is strength. It is the discipline to let things unfold without always intervening. It is the courage to endure the discomfort of restraint, because there is discomfort in not reacting. There is tension in silence, but in that discomfort there is dignity. In that restraint there is true power. So the next time emotion rises fast, when you feel insulted, disrespected, afraid, envious, do not respond immediately. Do not send the message, do not say the words, do not move until your reason has spoken. That is the Stoic's way. That is how you pass the first test. Not by being cold, but by being in control. Not by suppressing your nature, but by refining it. Let emotion knock at the door, but do not open until virtue answers. Lesson 3. Live by principles, not by moods. Most people live as slaves to how they feel. If they wake up motivated, they act with discipline. If they feel discouraged, they make excuses. If the world flatters them, they are generous. If the world frustrates them, they are cruel. This is not living, it is drifting. It is being pulled by every wave of emotion, every fluctuation of mood, every twist of circumstance. The Stoics rejected this completely. They believed that a life worth living must be guided not by feelings, which change with the wind, but by principles, which remain steady through storm and stillness alike. To respond instead of react means that you do not wait to feel like doing the right thing. You do it because it is the right thing. You show up with strength, not because it's easy, but because your character demands it. Epictetus warned that if you want to be free, you must first learn to govern yourself, and governing yourself means doing what is necessary, not what is comfortable. It means following reason, not emotion. You do not say, "I will be courageous when I feel brave," but "I will act with courage because it is right, regardless of how I feel." You do not say, "I will forgive when I'm no longer angry," but "I will forgive because holding on to bitterness is beneath me." This is the power of principle. It gives you a path when your emotions would leave you lost. It gives you a compass when your feelings want to pull you in every direction. Seneca described how the wise person builds their life like an architect builds a strong house, with deliberate structure, not temporary impulse. He said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." That means moods will always come and go, joy, sadness, anger, doubt, but principles are chosen. They are forged, they are lived. The Stoic selects a handful of unshakable values: justice, self-control, wisdom, courage, and holds to them no matter the weather of the soul. This is not being rigid, this is being rooted, like a tree that stands tall, not because the wind is gone, but because its roots go deep. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Not whether someone praises you, not whether you feel confident, not whether the outcome is visible or invisible. What matters is that you are loyal to your code, that you act as the kind of person you wish to become, even when no one is watching, even when everything inside you says, 'Wait, hold back, be soft today.'" The Stoic does not ask how they feel. They ask, "What would virtue do here?" And then they do it. This is not about suppressing emotion. It is about rising above it, about putting emotion in its rightful place, not as master but as servant. Moods are visitors, they are not guides. When you let them lead, they turn your life into chaos. When you let principles lead, they turn your life into meaning. And that is the Stoic way, to build a character so strong that even on your worst day, your response is still noble. Even in your weakest moment, your choice is still aligned with who you want to be. That is how you become unshakable, not by avoiding storms, but by having a code that no storm can break. Lesson 2. Guard the mind. Every thought shapes your life. Every fortress falls, not because its walls are weak, but because the gate is left unguarded. The Stoics believed the mind is no different. Your mind is the center of everything you experience. Every judgment, every emotion, every reaction, every decision. And if you do not guard it, if you do not train it, if you let every thought enter unchecked, you will slowly lose your freedom. One thought of envy opens the door to bitterness. One indulgence in self-pity becomes despair. One grievance unexamined becomes a worldview of resentment. This is why Marcus Aurelius warned himself again and again to be vigilant with his mind. "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," he wrote. And he knew, just as the body is shaped by what it consumes, the mind is shaped by what it allows. If you feed it fear, you become afraid. If you feed it anger, you become angry. But if you feed it reason, discipline, clarity, then you become unshakable. Your thoughts are not private. They are the architects of your future. This vigilance does not come naturally. Most people do not observe their thinking. They are carried by it. They believe every thought that arises must be true. They mistake the voice in their head for the voice of reason. But the Stoics knew better. They saw that thoughts arise from many places: childhood wounds, social influence, fear, pride, habit. And unless you examine them, unless you ask, "Is this thought helping me live with virtue?" you will be ruled by assumptions, by old programming, by mental noise that sounds familiar but leads you far from peace. Epictetus said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." He was not blaming you, he was empowering you. He was reminding you that your mind must be trained like a soldier, disciplined, alert, ready. Not reactive, not open to every doubt, insult, or fantasy. The mind is a battlefield, and your thoughts are the soldiers. Who commands them? If you are not leading, someone else is. Your ego, your fear, your insecurity. The Stoic trains himself to become the commander, to observe a thought the way a general observes a report, with scrutiny, not submission. Is this useful? Is this wise? Is this mine? Most of the time, the answer is no. And in that moment, the Stoic does something most people never do. He lets the thought go. He doesn't fight it. He doesn't indulge it. He simply says, "This thought does not serve my values. It is not welcome here." And he moves forward. That is the daily work of a philosopher, not to have only pure thoughts, but to become skilled at recognizing and dismissing the destructive ones before they take root. Seneca wrote that our thoughts must be watched like guests at a banquet, that even in quiet moments we must be vigilant because the enemy is not always outside, it is inside. The judgment, the assumption, the grudge, the fantasy. These are the seeds that, if planted, become suffering, and they grow quietly. They grow while you scroll your phone, while you sit in silence, while you lie awake at night. That is why the Stoic begins each day with reflection and ends each night with review. What thoughts ruled me today? What did I allow into my mind? Where did I lose control? What did I believe without questioning? This is not self-blame. It is self-mastery, the kind that comes only with honest observation, with the courage to look within, not just once, but constantly. But this vigilance must not become rigidity. The Stoic mind is not hard. It is disciplined. It allows for thought, emotion, imagination, but it does not let them steer the ship. It lets them speak, but does not obey them blindly. This flexibility within structure is what gives the Stoic his strength. He does not repress feeling, he simply questions it. He does not deny pain. He simply refuses to let pain write his story. He does not block all emotion. He simply lets reason decide what is worthy of attention, and that is the heart of this lesson. You cannot stop thoughts from arising, but you can stop them from taking over. You can choose which thoughts are allowed to stay and which must go. You can guard the gate. To live by this principle requires daily work. It means not taking your mental life for granted. It means designing your thinking the way a craftsman shapes his tools, with care, with intention, with mastery. It means surrounding yourself with wisdom, not noise, with silence, not distraction, with clarity, not chaos. It means journaling your thoughts, not just feeling them. It means reading deeply, not scrolling endlessly. It means choosing what enters your mind the way you choose what enters your home. And when you do this long enough, you begin to feel something rare, stillness, not silence from outside, but order from within. Your thoughts align with your values. Your inner world becomes trustworthy. You no longer need to react because your mind is steady, and a steady mind is the foundation of a steady life. So when you feel overwhelmed, do not rush to fix the world. First, examine your thinking. When you feel angry, do not lash out. First, observe what you've told yourself. When you feel afraid, do not run. First, ask what belief is driving that fear. This is the path, not to avoid thought, but to command it. Not to suppress emotion, but to govern it. Not to deny reality, but to see it clearly, with a mind that is no longer ruled by impulse. A Stoic does not hope for a quiet life. A Stoic trains for a quiet mind, because once the mind is in order, life can be faced without panic, without confusion, without weakness. You may still suffer, but you will not collapse. You may still feel pain, but you will not become pain. You may still lose, but you will not lose yourself. This is why Marcus Aurelius, with an empire to rule, returned to his own thoughts every night. Why Epictetus, having lost his freedom, taught others how to find theirs within. Why Seneca, writing near the end of his life, spoke not of possessions or achievements, but of thought and how to master it. They knew what we forget. The quality of your life is the quality of your thinking, and thinking is not automatic. It must be trained. It must be guarded. It must be worthy of the life you want to live. Lesson 1. Choose voluntary hardship. Discipline begins before the crisis. When life strikes unexpectedly, most people fall apart, not because the event is unbearable, but because they never trained for it. They spent years avoiding difficulty, chasing comfort, hoping the storm would never come. But the Stoic lives by a different law. Prepare for the storm, and it will never break you. The Stoics didn't wait for adversity to train their strength. They sought it out. They practiced discomfort, denied themselves pleasure, exposed themselves to hardship, not out of masochism, but out of wisdom, because they knew discipline doesn't begin when you need it most. It begins long before. It begins in the cold morning when you rise despite your comfort. In the silence, you choose over distraction. In the decision to delay gratification when indulgence is easy. These are the first battles, small, invisible, but essential, because the mind that wins them is the mind that will endure the real war. Epictetus was clear. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That is not just a warning, it is a challenge. A reminder that those who choose voluntary hardship, who train themselves through difficulty, will often be misunderstood. The crowd will not understand why you fast, why you walk instead of drive, why you rise early when no one is watching. But the Stoic doesn't live for comfort or validation. He lives for readiness. He knows that when the body is soft, the will becomes weak. That when comfort becomes your norm, pain becomes unbearable. So he reverses the pattern. He chooses difficulty not because he must, but so that when difficulty chooses him, he will not flinch. He will respond. Seneca, despite his wealth and influence, practiced this daily. He would eat only the simplest food, wear plain clothes, sleep on the floor, and not just to test himself, but to remind himself, is this what I feared? He understood that the anticipation of hardship often hurts more than the thing itself, and that fear, once confronted voluntarily, loses its power. That is the secret of voluntary hardship. It makes the feared familiar. It turns anxiety into clarity, and from that clarity comes confidence. Not the shallow confidence of bravado, but the quiet, unshakable confidence of someone who has already suffered in private and is therefore ready in public. Marcus Aurelius echoed the same truth when he wrote, "Ask yourself, is this something that is within my control? If not, accept it. If yes, endure it." But how do you endure something you never practiced for? You don't. You collapse. unless you trained your mind, hardened your will, and learned to love what others avoid. That training begins with choices no one sees. Choosing to lift the weight when you'd rather rest, to study when you'd rather scroll, to listen when you'd rather talk, to hold your tongue when rage begs for release. These are the foundations of Stoic discipline. They're built in the small hours, in solitude, in silence, and they form the character that doesn't break when tested. This is why the Stoic doesn't complain when life gets hard. He doesn't say, "Why me?" He says, "Finally, an opportunity to practice what I've trained for." That is not delusion, it is mastery. It is the result of someone who has suffered willingly before they were forced to, who has chosen pain, not for its own sake, but for the transformation it offers. Because that is what hardship does. It transforms. It either crushes the unprepared or strengthens the disciplined. The Stoic chooses to become the second, not by accident, by repetition, by preparation, by will. So if you want to be ready, begin now. Choose what is difficult, not because it will impress anyone, but because it will prepare you. Say no to ease, not because it is wrong, but because it makes you soft. Sleep less, complain less, resist more. Train not for admiration, but for endurance. Let others laugh while you sharpen your spirit in silence. Let them chase luxury while you chase resilience. Let them react, you will respond. You have just walked through 10 teachings, not from men who lived in comfort, but from those who endured war, exile, betrayal, disease, and death. Marcus Aurelius, writing by candlelight while ruling an empire torn by plague. Seneca, reflecting in the shadow of political execution. Epictetus, teaching from the limitations of slavery. These were not men of theory, they were men of fire. Their words have survived not because they are beautiful, but because they are true. Because in every age, the same chaos returns. The same loss, the same fear, the same need to choose. Will I react or will I respond? You are not asked to be perfect. You are not asked to be invulnerable. You are asked only to be responsible for your own soul, to stand guard at the gates of your mind, to practice self-command when others lose theirs, to choose silence over noise, principle over impulse, discipline over drama. You are asked to live as though your actions matter, because they do. Every moment you respond with reason, you reclaim your dignity. Every pause in the storm is a victory. Every act of restraint is a sign of strength. And over time, these moments become a life not without pain, but without collapse. A life not free of chaos, but rooted in clarity. There will be days when you forget, when the fire of emotion rises too fast, when fear screams louder than reason, when the old patterns return and you say what you shouldn't, do what you promised not to, fall back into the mind you're trying to rise out of. On those days, do not curse yourself. Do not say, "I failed." Say, "I noticed." Say, "I'm training." Say, "This is the work." Because the Stoic path is not straight, it is not smooth, it is not quick. It is a long road made of deliberate steps. And every step, even the missteps, lead you forward if you walk with awareness. That's what it means to respond, to begin again with clarity, to stand up again with strength, to speak again with purpose. You are not your worst reaction, you are your next decision. And you do not walk alone. Around the world, across centuries, others have walked this path too. Some silently, some publicly, some broken but rebuilding, some steady but still sharpening. If you're watching this now, if you've listened all the way through, then you are one of them. A student of the inner life, a builder of character, a rebel against chaos. You are Diary Stoic, and this is your work. Not to change the world before you've changed yourself. Not to chase ease, but to chase virtue. Not to be seen, but to see clearly. Not to be ruled by emotion, but to rise above it. Let the world do what it will. Let others shout, react, panic, collapse. You hold fast. Respond. Respond to insult with dignity, to loss with courage, to pain with presence, to fear with principle, to comfort with discipline, not because it's easy, not because you're ready, but because it's right. That's the only reason the Stoic needs. Not applause, not reward, not certainty, just one truth. That virtue is the only good. And if you live by that, if you choose that again and again, the world cannot break you. So the next time you feel the storm inside rising, the urge to explode, to withdraw, to blame, pause. Remember everything you've learned. Return to your center. Choose your response. It does not have to be perfect. It only has to be yours. You are not a puppet of emotion. You are not a slave to the world. You are a soul with reason, a mind with power, a person in training. You are diary Stoic. Walk the path.